Listening Fanfiction presents Of Saints and Sinners by Morningstar Writes, based on the cartoon series Has Been Hotel from Amazon Prime. Narrated for you by Sierra Feast. Chapter 1. The Promise. Okay, you. Lucifer stares into the mirror, his eyes gazing worriedly back at him. This is no big deal. Easy peasy, yeah? All you have to do is go down and talk and we'll be done. At the end of it all, after the war, the renovations, and his move into the hotel, Lucifer is faced with one of the most daunting events in his life. Asking Charlie for a father-daughter dinner. It'll be good, he says unconvincingly, adjusting his jacket in an effort to look more put together. Charlie will say yes. Probably. Maybe. Potentially? He paces around his room, still mulling over whether or not he should do it. There's a gap between them, admittedly. It had been a few years, and his socializing skills are a bit rusty, if he was being honest. But if he didn't at least try, then why did he even bother moving in? He brushes his hair back with his hand, carefully places his hat on his head, and nods at his reflection. You got this! Sighing out one last breath to calm his nerves, he finally teleports down into the lobby. Charlie is surveying the walls of the hotel when Lucifer arrives, her hands gently gliding across the surface to check for damages. She's alone, thank God. The other hotel staff tended to snatch up her attention, and he'd rather not have an audience judge him when he's trying to hang out with his daughter. Hey, Charlie! Lucifer smiles a bit too widely, and his grin ends up bordering on maniacal instead of charming. Are you free for dinner tonight? What do you say to a delicious meal with your old man, Oh, Dad! Charlie turns around, her face brightening at the sight of him. Her smile relaxes Lucifer's nerves, and he grins back at her more genuinely this time. It's so nice to see you, but I do have plans tonight. Oh, Lucifer's shoulders slump at this. Right. Yes, a fun little lady like you must have lots of things to do. What are you what are you up to tonight? Before Charlie can answer, Lucifer sees something extremely unpleasant. The murky black silhouette of Alastor, materializing out of thin air, the glitching tendrils, a telltale sign of his arrival. Lucifer rolls his eyes as Alastor walks towards them, his bright red shoes clicking on the floor. Ugh! Alastor! While Lucifer did it like most sinners in hell, there was something decidedly off about him. His smile, his demeanor, his personality, his height, his ears, his attitude, his history, his eyes, his powers, all that red! Oh, it's you. Lucifer pointedly chooses not to use his name. Don't you know it's rude to intrude on the conversation? Ha ha ha! Alastor laughs mockingly, placing his hands on Charlie's shoulders in a fake affectionate manner. Lucifer bristles up like a cat when he sees the physical contact. Why, you asked what Charlie was up to, and she's busy going over hotel plans with me tonight. Thus, she can't make it to your little soiree, Your Majesty. How unfortunate. Alastor did not, in fact, sound sympathetic at all. Charlie turns around to look at Alastor, her face apologetic. Oh, jeez, Alastor, I totally spaced. It's actually date night, so I won't be able to make it. Maggie and I have a whole thing planned. Alastor's smile puts in of a sneer. I suppose I will make all the big decisions at the hotel, then. Well, that wouldn't be fair to you, Alastor. Charlie ignores the thinly veiled threat and places her hand on her chin instead. Maybe if you could wait? Or maybe... Her eyes flick thoughtfully between Alastor and Lucifer. There's a moment of silence amongst the three of them, and the longer Charlie stares, the greater the sense of dread Lucifer starts to feel. Well, what do you think of this? Charlie claps her hands together excitedly. Why don't you two start going over the plans first, and Maggie and I will join the discussion after? Alastor's grin freezes on his face. Well, that's an idea, he lets out at last, albeit a terrible one. Charlie, I'd do anything for you, but this is kind of, what's the word? Lucifer waves toward the general direction of Alastor. And as... Alastor narrows his eyes at him, purposefully steps into Lucifer's personal space, ends up forcing him back by leaning in uncomfortably close to his face.
"Why, I am absolutely delightful, sir,"
Alastor sings.
"It is you who are the snooze. If I recall correctly, weren't you isolated at home for the past few years? I would hardly call you a charming conversationalist."
Excuse me? I at least have manners, not like you Okay! Charlie hurriedly slides in between them. Plain as you do. Come on, Dad. This way you can make sure everything looks good on my behalf, and Alastor, there's no delay either.
"Charlie, well,"
he trails off, glancing at Alastor. Their eyes suddenly meet, bright red against gold, and there's an unreadable expression on Alastor's face, something that makes Lucifer tear his eyes away first.
"I don't know."
"Oh?" Alastor cuts in.
"Is His Majesty too good to work at the hotel? Charlie here personally asked for your assistance."
"Hey, whatever Charlie needs, I'm there for her, unlike you."
"I've been by her side since the very start. And what about you, sir?"
That stinks on a personal level, and Lucifer knows that Alastor knows. Based on the pleased smile, he shoots down at him. He lets out a guttural growl, but before he can really pummel the shit out of Alastor, Charlie dangs his arm back. "You are both wonderful, and I would love to get your opinions on the, hotel. So please?" Charlie looks down at him pleadingly, her smile wobbly and unsure. And this Lucifer's anger extinguishes, and he lets out a long sigh.
"All right, fine. Just for a few minutes, though."
"Careful now." Alastor jeers, and Lucifer's eyes snap up to look at him.
"If you sound any more excited, people will think that you want to spend time with me."
I'd rather be with literally anyone else." Alastor claps his hands together, distracting Lucifer from his tirade.
"Well, let's begin, shall we? We've got quite a bit of work to do."
He walks away without bothering to wait, his long legs taking him halfway down the corridor already. "Fine!" Lucifer scoffs and turns to his daughter, his arm reaching out to hug her goodbye. About halfway through, he starts to regret his decision. Maybe this isn't a hugging moment? Aborts the action, and in the end, his hand is outstretched between them in the most awkward attempted hug in the history of the universe.
Bye."
Lucifer laughs nervously, hurrying after Alastor instead of looking at Charlie. He'll have to try to hug her later. Or never. Lucifer would like to say that spending time with Alastor was a treat, but that would be lying. It's uncomfortable. As expected. Alastor had actually prepared 2 stacked piles of paperwork, which Lucifer sorts through as an excuse to do something. While he flicks through the writing, the neat typeface outlining some potential hotel renovations for the future, Lucifer glances over at him from the corner of his eye. Alastor's head is tilted downwards as he reads the paper, so all he can see are the fluffy outline of his deer ears and small curved antlers. What a wacko, Lucifer thinks, watching as he jots down some notes on the margins. Alastor was still very much an enigma to him, but Charlie seemed to have a great deal of perplexing fondness for him.
"You're more organized than I thought,"
Lucifer says, breaking the silence. Alastor's smile doesn't make it to his eyes, and he drums his clad fingers against the table.
"How flattering that someone of your rank thinks about me."
"I try not to, actually," Lucifer shoots back. Alastor leans in close, his grin stretching maliciously in the process.
"Sounds like try is the key word here."
"What the? I don't think about you, is that better?"
"Let's keep it that way, then."
Lucifer ups and pushes his handbrake in frustration.
"Maybe we shouldn't talk right now and just finish reading this."
Alastor mercifully keeps quiet, and Lucifer skims through the rest of the report. For the next few minutes, he marks down some areas for improvement, and he's fully prepared to sit in tense silence until Charlie comes back. Alastor is the one who speaks first this time.
"Well, what brings the elusive king to the Has-Been Hotel?"
If he didn't know any better, he would have thought Alastor was making some form of polite small talk. His face, however, displays his total lack of interest, and Lucifer feels a renewed sense of animosity.
"I'm here to spend time with my daughter, obviously,"
Lucifer bites back, although it looks like I'll have to spend time with the bellhop first. Alastor's eye twitches at the term bellhop, when his smile remains firmly intact.
"Why, I'm honored that you would deign to grace us with your presence."
Alastor shoots up from his seat and starts walking towards Lucifer, his gait slow and purposeful.
What exactly did they banish you from heaven again?
Lucifer jumps up as well, scowling at Alastor the whole time.
How dare you? Who was it that cleaned your mess after you lost to Adam?
Alastor actually snarls at this, and his shadow leaps out for a split second. The momentary flare-up catches Lucifer off guard, but Alastor is quick to calm his face back into a neutral smile.
Oh, I do dare, your majesty.
Alastor leans in closer, enough that Lucifer has to take a step back.
You have no real jurisdiction in hell, and we all know it. So why don't you go running back to your lair like the coward you are?
Run! Funny you should say that. Where were you when we were rebuilding the hotel, huh? You were nowhere to be seen.
I started this hotel without you.
Alastor crushes Lucifer's hat under his hand.
And I'll run my hotel without you too.
Your hotel. This is Charlie's.
Lucifer is so enraged that his hands are set ablaze, his pyrokinesis activating subconsciously. The fire spreads to the paperwork, lighting it into a red-hot pile of flames, and he drops them on the ground in surprise.
Oh, crap.
Lucifer watches in horror as the fire spreads, incinerating everything in its wake. Meanwhile, Alastor cackles so loudly he has to grip onto his radio cane to steady himself, not making a move to help out at all.
Where the hell are your fire extinguishers?
Lucifer snaps.
Now, why would we have any?
For these kinds of situations, dumbass.
Well, none of this would happen if you weren't here, sir.
Oh, you really think you'll never have a guest who can shoot fire? We're in hell, you fuck.
Lucifer grabs onto Alastor's radio cane. Alastor yanks on Lucifer's apple cane. The fire catches onto the curtains.
Come on! Charlie is not going to be happy about this.
I shall leave it up to you then, since you love cleaning up messes so much.
Alastor's grin widens. His eyes reflect the burning fire around them, the flames flickering wickedly. Dad! Alastor! They both freeze, and there's a pause in the scuffle as they turn around, taking in the bright red flames that have spread throughout the entire room. Charlie and Maggie are standing in the doorway looking horrified as the crystal chandelier snaps and lands with a resounding crack against the floor.
What the hell, you two?
Maggie instinctively shields Charlie from the flames.
How did this happen?
Lucifer's brain short circuits, and the only thing he manages to say is,
We were just so fired up about checking the hotel paperwork.
In the background, Alastor lets out a muffled snort. Okay, well, that wasn't great. Lucifer sighs and runs his hands through his hair, thinking about everything that went wrong. It was fine up until Alastor... Alastor! He grits his teeth and shoves him out of his mind. How flattering that someone of your rank thinks about me, he had said. Any time spent thinking about him was time wasted anyway.
Whatever. Lucifer mutters, let's focus on more important things.
He pushes his bedroom door open and makes his way down to the burnt conference room. A few days have passed, but the room was still in shambles. Lucifer had avoided the area purely out of guilt. The other residents made sure not to mention it around him, but he knew that everyone was annoyed at its singed state. I can build things! I'll patch up the room, and then Charlie will forgive me, and everyone can move on! Lucifer thinks. Nodding to himself, he pokes his head into the damaged remains of the room, only to see the familiar figure of an annoying, crossed out, rude, crossed out, awful, crossed out, tall red-haired demon.
How lovely to see you again.
Alastor gives a deep, proper bow to welcome him in. It irked Lucifer every time Alastor pretended to care about his status as the king of hell. It was even more irritating that Alastor just wanted to get under his skin. And the worst part was that it worked.
What the hell are you doing here? Lucifer huffs. Are you following me or something?
Alastor pauses at this, and he places his hand on his chest innocently.
Why, I was here first.
Alastor almost looks sincere, but it's ruined by the self-satisfied grin he has on his face.
It's clear to anyone that you are the one who is following me around.
Just, I don't have time for this.
Lucifer runs his hands through his hair for frustration.
Get out of the way. I'm going to fix this room.
No need.
Alastor says brightly, snapping his fingers. His little shadow demons conjure up out of nowhere, and they start running to pick up the burnt debris.
I have it under control.
God! Alastor was clearly being unhelpful on purpose, and it was starting to get on his nerves.
Look, I'm here already. I caused the fire, so it's my responsibility to return this place back to normal.
No.
Alastor pats and stands right in front of Lucifer, effectively blocking him from coming in.
You're a guest here, and as I am staff, I have to take care of the problems that you guests do in the rooms.
I live here now, too.
Lucifer pushes his giant hotel key right against Alastor's chest, forcing him to step backwards.
So get the hell out, and let me fix this.
2 letters.
Alastor says condescendingly.
N.
He leans down.
O.
His voice lowers.
And what does that spell?
Fuck you!
Lucifer spits out.
Wrong! It spells out no, Your Majesty.
Lucifer launches pen up blasts at Alastor, who deftly whacks his giant key to the side with his radio cane. He lunges angrily to grab Alastor's jacket, twists it underneath his fists, and he doesn't notice the fireballs ricocheting off the room, knocking into the broken chandelier and setting everything ablaze. It's only after Alastor shoves him back hard when he realizes that the flames are eating up the remnants of the destroyed conference room.
Not again!
Lucifer cries out, watching in alarm as the room catches on fire.
We need the fire extinguishers.
Oh, I already mentioned that we don't have any.
Still? Shouldn't you add it to your hotel plans or whatever?
Unfortunately, someone burnt those all up.
The fire creeps into the hallway and Lucifer rips up his jacket in a panic, trying to snuff out the flames. Alastor yawns and steps outside, only to be met with an increasingly upset Charlie, her horns peeking out of her hair.
Dad! Alastor! Outside! Now!
I'm not angry, just disappointed, Charlie prefaces.
Charlie, everyone knows that's worse.
Lucifer's hands are covering his face, so it actually comes out in a muffled,
Charlie, no difference.
Look. Charlie's smile is a bit strained. The whole purpose of this hotel is to provide a home for sinners. If you two keep breaking it, there won't be a home at all. Alastor, as my faculty manager, and Dad, as my family member, I know you two wouldn't want to cause further harm. And you two idiots are literally ruining everyone's hard work. Baggy deadpans, gesturing towards the burning remnants of what used to be the conference room. She had managed to fly out and find a long enough hose to extinguish the flames, but the room is unusable. Again, for the time being. Lucifer sneaks a glance at Alastor, whose expression is unreadable. He had no idea what was on his mind. Was he angry? Annoyed? Sad? The only thing that broke his calm facade was a slight spasm in his eye.
Well,
Alastor begins, examining his hands in apathy.
I suppose you're not wrong. I do have a vested interest in this fine establishment.
Yes, you're right, Charlie. And, Maggie?
Lucifer hurries in, not wanting Alastor to have the last word.
I'm sorry about this. It's just, maybe Alastor and I should be, separate. I'm perfectly happy to spend the rest of my time on the right side of the hotel.
I agree with the Short King. However, I have already staked my claim to the right side.
Alastor says nonchalantly.
What? You can't... My room is on the right side.
Oh, such an unfortunate circumstance for you. That's still my side. Why don't you vacate the premises?
Why, you little...
Lucifer charges forward to seize Alastor's shirt lapels, and he hisses back, shoving his radio cane against his chest. Okay, stop! Stop! Charlie squeezes in between them, trying to prevent them from attacking each other. This is what I'm talking about. No one is going to want to stay here if you're acting like this. And while I do want both of you to be here, I don't want this to affect the others. Got it? It's rare for Charlie to express her thoughts so sternly, and so Lucifer slumps against the couch sheepishly, keeping his mouth shut. Alastor wipes his hand on his shirt, but also remains quiet for the time being. Okay, obviously, you two don't get along. Charlie says, gesturing from Alastor to Lucifer. But you two also don't know each other at all. So maybe if you hang out, you'll find that you have a lot in common and this, difficult relationship that you do have could be remedied.
Oh, Charlie, I'm not sure I like where this is going.
Although Alastor's face was still perfectly composed, his hands are in a white-knuckle grip on his radio game.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with him.
Lucifer adds, See, this is working already. Charlie's eyes sparkle with excitement. Okay, listen to my suggestion. Neither of you participated in our trust exercises from a few months ago. Why don't you spend a little bit of time each day to get to know each other, do something nice, and maybe that way you can, like each other? Become friends? Or at least tolerate being in the same room together?
No,
Alastor cuts in.
I would rather perish. Again.
Oh, God. Babe, Maggie says uncertainly, placing a hand on Charlie's shoulder. You know I love your positivity, but I'm not sure how well it'll work with these two. Charlie bites her lip and looks at Lucifer. Dad, please? No matter how old Charlie gets, Lucifer can still remember when she was just a baby, listening to him sing lullabies and playing with his rubber duck creations. Her smiling face resembled the sun, but her saddened expression makes his heart wrench. And he already knew it was a losing battle from the start. Okay, Lucifer says exasperatedly. At this, Charlie lets out a whoop. Yes, Dad, this is great! Charlie swivels over to look at Alastor, who, up until this point, had been suspiciously silent. Alastor, what do you say? Just a little nice thing every day? Alastor taps his finger against his chin thoughtfully.
Well, why not?
Yes, thank you, Al.
As long as we make it a deal.
Lucifer scoffs at this, rolling his eyes, and he feels Alastor slowly turn around to look at him.
Never in a million years, douchebag.
Lucifer spits out. Alastor's suggestion also makes Charlie shake her head, her eyes wide with dread. Alastor, come on! There's no way you can take my dad's soul. That's just not going to work.
Not for his soul, Charlie.
Alastor sings. He brings himself up to his full height and is practically a whole head taller than Lucifer, even more so. Alastor's red eyes glow unnaturally in the light, and Lucifer immediately regrets locking eyes with him. There's something heavy about his stare, as though Alastor was sizing him up, gauging the best way to rip him apart.
It might be more appropriate to call it a favor. In exchange for us embarking on this, shall we say, charade, he will do one thing for me, no questions asked.
Alastor leans away, but his eyes never leave Lucifer's face.
How does that sound?
It's a challenge, not a request. And Lucifer was damned if he was going to let someone push him around like this.
You want a favor from me? I know what that means.
Lucifer scowls, crossing his arms determinedly.
You're not the first jackass around here who's tried to use me.
Alastor looks unfazed by his reaction. In fact, he smiles wider, his teeth glinting sharply under the light.
Well, if you're that worried, why don't I edit with an addendum? No killing, no maiming, no questions asked.
Wow. Lucifer barks out a sarcastic laugh.
It sounds like you've been thinking about this for a while.
Have I?
Alastor returns his laugh with gusto.
Why, sir, you think much too highly of me. Alas, I am merely a simple hotelier who just wants this hotel to thrive. Right, Charlie?
He pinches Charlie's cheek and Maggie squawks in displeasure.
Get your hands off her, Alastor,
Maggie shouts, pulling Charlie close to her side.
And we're on to you. Lucifer, you should be careful, favor or not. Alastor's always up to something.
No, of course not.
Alastor shakes his head.
I would never do anything to harm any of us here. And of course that extends to the royal king himself.
His smile is a bit sinister, but that's normal for Alastor. Lucifer lets out a sigh and thinks about his options. Truthfully, the only thing he really drew the line at was hurting his family, so Alastor's little favor was of absolutely no consequence to him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate your concern. I'll think about it.
Actually, my name is
How lovely.
Alastor claps his hands together.
Why don't you take an hour to decide? I will return when the clock strikes midnight.
And with that, Alastor fades away into the darkness. Dad, please don't feel pressured to take this. Charlie bites her lip worriedly. I'm sorry that it escalated so much. Alastor's kind of strange, but he's been sticking his neck out for the hotel. I thought he'd be a little more receptive than this, but I guess that's just my wishful thinking again.
She looks crestfallen, and Lucifer smiles reassuringly at her. One of Charlie's best qualities is her empathy, and he didn't want her to feel badly about how everything unfurled. No, Charlie.
Lucifer pats her gently on the shoulder.
I mean, I'm definitely part of this problem. He's a jerk, but I should know better than to rise up to his taunts, you know?
He does seem to enjoy challenging you, Dad,
Charlie admits. An idea strikes through Lucifer's head, and he starts cackling at the prospect of it. Oh man, you know what? This could be a fun way to teach that jerk a lesson. I'm going to add a request that he is going to hate.
Lucifer grins, and Charlie laughs nervously at this. Dad, the whole point is for you two to be nice to each other. You're not going to try and stir up something, are you?
Oh, don't worry, Jar Jar.
Lucifer rubs his hands together nefariously.
This definitely falls under the nice category.
At exactly midnight, Alastor reappears into the lobby. Lucifer is the only one present. Charlie and Vaggie had gone off to sleep, and for a moment they stand in front of each other silently. Alastor is tall. Really, really tall. Lucifer pulls himself up to his full height, and he seriously considers stretching out his wings so that he could fly up to Alastor's eye level. He's never been one to worry too much about his own stature, but he's not enjoying the way Alastor literally looks down on him. Lucifer adjusts his hat so that he hopefully looks a bit more intimidating in nature.
So, what do you say?
Alastor says, swirling his radio cane in idle anticipation.
These terms are quite fair, if I do say so myself.
Just one more thing.
Lucifer lifts up a finger for emphasis.
How intriguing. What is it?
Oh, yes! I got you! Lucifer thinks triumphantly. He flashes a smile up at Alastor, who tilts his head to the side from confusion.
You have to compliment me.
Alastor blinks at this.
Every day.
Lucifer continues.
And it has to be genuine.
The silence stretches on and on and on. Lucifer had never seen him rendered speechless before.
Alastor swallows, his eyes darting from left to right. What?
The radio filter slips away for 1 second, and Lucifer hears his real voice, low and confused. His voice is nicer than he expected, smooth and almost baritone. Lucifer brushes aside this realization to continue talking about his terms and conditions.
You have to say something nice about me. From the heart. Not a bad exchange for a favor from the king of hell himself, huh?
Lucifer smiles lopsidedly, certain that Alastor would back down, or at least argue vehemently. When Lucifer thinks that he's finally called Alastor's bluff, his face slowly composes itself, morphing back into his signature smile.
I can do that,
Alastor says cheerily.
As long as you also compliment me.
This was not what you anticipated. What?
This little game that we are participating in.
Alastor purposefully steps into Lucifer's personal space.
Requires 2 players. And so the rules should apply to us both. Don't you agree?
Don't agree with him. Lucifer thinks desperately. Don't agree. Don't agree. Don't agree.
Unless you're too cowardly to partake, sir.
Alastor goes, fine! Lucifer hates himself a lot sometimes.
Sounds like a deal.
Alastor croons, extending his hand out.
Shall we shake on it?
It's a favor, asshole, not a deal. And her shaking.
Lucifer resolutely crosses his arms, and Alastor looks a tiny bit put out by this.
Not a problem. What about a pinky promise?
Alastor suggests, extending out one sharp finger. A what?
A pinky promise.
Alastor enunciates the words condescendingly.
You stick out your little finger,
He waggles both of his pinky fingers in front of Lucifer's face.
loop it together,
He demonstrates with his own, linking them.
and shake like so.
He brings his hands up and down in a very dramatic manner.
Was that slow enough for you, or would you like me to do it again?
No, I got it the first time.
Lucifer says flatly.
I don't want to engage in any sort of hand-holding behaviors with you, all right?
It is not official if we don't.
Alastor makes a move to start teleporting away, his body shifting into shadow.
I am getting a little tired of this conversation. Can you make up your mind?
Ugh!
Lucifer growls, annoyed at how the situation was turning out.
Okay, I pinky promise that after all this, I'll owe you a favor.
How excellent.
Alastor smiles harder, if that was even possible. Lucifer sticks his pinky finger out, and he realizes with a shock that Alastor's hands were much bigger, almost twice the size of his own. When they link their fingers together, they're both enveloped in a powerful green glow, the wind almost knocking Lucifer's hat off his head. Alastor's skin is warm to the touch and surprisingly soft, a complete contrast to the claw-like shape of his hands. As his little finger curls around his, Lucifer can't help but examine Alastor's bright red fingers, long and slender in appearance.
What are you looking at?
Alastor says, bemused. Lucifer realizes that it's much too unpleasant to admit that he was, looking at his hands? And he clears his throat awkwardly.
Just, it's so green here, isn't it?
He says unconvincingly. Alastor looks at him strangely and doesn't bother to respond. After the green light slowly dims down, Alastor makes a show of wiping his hand on the front of his jacket.
I suppose you should retire to your bedchambers now, Your Majesty. We can embark on this pretense tomorrow.
Technically, today would be our first day.
Lucifer says smugly, watching as Alastor's dear ears twitch irately on his head.
So what's your compliment for me today,
Eager, aren't we?
Despite his complaints, Alastor carefully studies Lucifer's figure, his eyes slowly raking over him in his entirety. It's a bit uncomfortable, but Lucifer stands his ground determinedly. After a minute, Alastor opens his mouth.
Well, your boots are nice, I suppose.
Oh,
The corners of Lucifer's lips quirk up a bit.
well,
They make you look like you're at least 5 feet tall.
Lucifer gapes at him. I'm taller than that, you ass! He lunges at him, and Alastor cackles wildly as he dodges.
And that is straight from my heart.
He taps Lucifer's nose patronizingly with his pointer finger, and before he can even react, Alastor quickly teleports away.
I'll get you back for this!
He shouts. At nothing. And if he disliked Alastor before, he definitely hated him now. Alastor ensconces himself into his room, and he looks down at his hand, reflecting on the pinky promise they just made. What a fool. Alastor thinks, his smile stretching all the way to his ears. Lucifer clearly had no idea what he had just agreed to, and once their little deal was finished, he was going to... Alastor wasn't sure what to ask for yet.
Regardless, it'll be so very entertaining to have the King of Hell on my leash.
His eyes glow menacingly in the dark, mutating and ticking away into radio dials. Tick, 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 tick.
I'm going to make him do something that he despises.
Alastor cackles, his shadow elongating ominously.
And he'll regret that he ever had the displeasure of meeting me.